What's going on, guys? Let me turn off my Bluetooth here. Oh man, guys, I don't know how to call it, man. I was in a basement. When was this? Yesterday. I was feeling good yesterday, and I got out that basement, guys. I think I put this job up yesterday. Guys, there was so much dust in that basement. As soon as I got out, like I was sneezing. I mean, I don't really have allergies like that, in the winter. In the summertime, I got like pollen. You got pollen outside, and we be outside, near pollen, and we go inside in dusty basements. In the summertime or the springtime, it's a lot worse. But I don't really get besides, like I said, the occasional flu, like every 3 or 4 years. I don't really get sick like that. But gosh, I don't know what the hell it was in that basement. But as soon as I got out, like I said, I definitely felt like something was off. Like, and for you guys that get sick, you know exactly what I mean. Like the early symptoms, you get like that weird feeling, like in the back of your throat. Like that's like what I was feeling. And whenever that happens, I don't really take a lot of medicine. I usually just take cough drops, and that usually knocks everything out. But guys, like that was yesterday, and like this morning, I was just like congested as hell. Like, and guys, that's the thing. Like, I'm gonna get into episode 35 in a second, but that's the thing. Like, whenever like I said, there's no good part about being sick, because like when you get sick, you're sick. Like I said, you got a runny nose, stuffy nose, sore throat, whatever the case is. But the issue is, and like I said, we all got to go through this. Once the cold breaks, which is what I'm going through now. But once the cold breaks, once that shit spreads, and now your nose is not stopped up, but like that's when you become like cloudy headed, and like it drains all the damn energy out you. And if you're like me, if you base your day off productivity, like you're not standing in one place all the time, like feeling weak as hell, cloudy head, you need your body to move around. Like, I mean, that can really mess up your day. That's why, you heard me say this before, like if I'm under 80%, there's nothing wrong with like taking a day off here and there. Like this doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Like, once you get sick, there's really nothing you can do. Like, I mean, if you know you're not going to be at your best, you can give it a shot. But like this particular thing, once you're cloudy headed, and like I said, you got to move around. You don't want to make matters worse, and like I said, end up being in a worse predicament. But guys, like I said, once that cold starts to break up, usually lasts like a day or two. And like that's another good thing with me, guys. Like I'm fairly active, but I take a multivitamin every day, but I don't need any like special meds. But whenever I get sick, usually dissipates within like 2 or 3 days. So like for instance, today is Friday. If I get sick by Monday, I'm usually good, to the point where I can still move around. I'm not like, bedridden or anything like that. But it's just like I said, the fact of, I'd rather deal with a stuffy nose or sore throat versus like a cloudy head, because like a cloudy head is like is almost the same thing as a headache, depending on, like I said, the circumstance. But guys, I'm gonna let a few people get in here. We got to talk about this. I had a conversation the other day. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, guys, but once again, guys, like there's some things that you just can't take for granted based on what other people say. And guys, we got to talk about this. If you've been following this channel, for you guys to just getting in here, what's going on? If you guys follow my channel for a while, I have a weird infatuation with deep space, or for deep sea travel and outer space. Like I like knowing about things that's like not really prevalent, like not a lot of scientists talk about, but that's the type of information I like. I like learning about different things that didn't exist before. I don't call it being a historian, but like I said, I like seeing things from different perspectives and like comparing it to what I know, and like ultimately learning something new. But guys, check this out, right? Somebody brought this up the other day, right? I was at the store, and the guy was like, most of the time they already know what I'm about. Like I said, random shit, as long as it's relative. Like I said, I mean, we can shoot the shit. But the guy was like, yo, like, I mean, how much do you really trust like deep sea travel? And he was like, what happened with the Titan submersible? About under a certain, I don't know the specific number, guys, but for you guys that's into that as well, under a certain feet, I want to say like if you're diving deep, like if you're under like 200 feet, under a certain feet, like you got to have special equipment, either You got to be in the submarine that's, that can withstand that pressure, because atmospheric pressure, guys, and like for you HVAC guys, like I'm not saying Colorado. I think Colorado has had a higher atmospheric pressure, but there's atmospheric pressure at sea level. But the more you go down, I'm talking below in deep sea, the pressure increases, and now all that pressure is going to go against you because you got air in your body. And like, guys, the point the guy was making, he was like, yeah, like, I understand what everything that's happening with the Titan submersible. Like, do you really think it's even worth us knowing about what's at the bottom of the sea? And like, me and him started talking like about, the Great Leviathan. Like, this is all, historical stuff. Like, you got the Great Leviathan, you got what's that squid thing? The Kraken or something like that. You got a bunch of hypothetical things that could live in the bottom of the ocean. But guys, like, one thing I spoke with him about, guys, like, I seen a bunch of theories. I seen a bunch of, oh yeah, this thing lived in the ocean like 1,000,001 years ago. Guys, you got to understand, right? Human beings are very visceral creatures. You know what that means, guys? Unless we see something, we're not going to have a high inclination to believe something. And what I mean by that is this, guys. I'm talking for us HVAC guys. I'm going to make this relative so I don't lose you guys. You know the greatest invention someone ever invented relative to HVAC? I don't care about AC. I'm saying the greatest invention was a thermometer, guys. Prime example. If you couldn't prove what temperature was, like if you had nothing to compare it to, how would someone know if something's hot or cold? Like, and I'm gonna take this back to trade schools. Me and one of my trade school teachers, like he like I said, he broke the game for me about temperature and like, relativity, like, comparison to like temperature. I told him, I'm like, teacher, I got a question. Like 72 degrees is not really cold. I knew this, like I said, from, being in school, reading a bunch of lessons. I'm like, like 72 degrees is not really that cold. I'm like, but people keep their house at 72 degrees in the summertime. I'm like how can you explain how 72 is cold or warm? And then my teacher broke it down. He was like, 72 is only relative to what you can compare it to. And I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, if you like right now, guys, if it's summertime and your house is set at 72 degrees, if it's 100 degrees outside, 72 is relatively colder than 100 degrees. But right now, guys, in Pennsylvania, it's about 30 degrees outside. 72 relative to 30 degrees is warm. So like, guys, temperature only matters if you're comparing it to something else. You get what I'm saying? 72 doesn't mean anything unless you have an opposition to compare it to. And I'm like, like that makes a lot of sense, because like I thought you got to keep your house at 60 degrees in the summertime in order for it to feel cold. And he was like, no, temperature is relative. It's a relative thing. Temperature doesn't mean nothing unless you have, that comparison. I'm like, like that makes a bunch of sense. And guys, like, that's why I said the thermometer, if I get, for our service techs out there, I get you trying to explain to customers that, hey, you got 100 degrees coming out your vents. Most customers, like I said, everybody's different. I feel like most HVAC techs are immune to temperature. You can put your hand out the vents and know that it's above 90 degrees. I'm saying if you're in the trade, but like most customers need to see it. So like, and guys, stay with me here. I'm going to bring this all together. The greatest invention is the thermometer, because now instead of me telling the customer that temperature is real, I can show them. They can see it. If they couldn't see it, I don't think any customer would believe that 72 degrees is warm or cold if they couldn't see it. And that's why digital thermostats, digital thermometers, everything now is visceral, guys. And that's why I'm saying, like, human beings, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I'm saying it helps with proven theories if customers or if people in general can see things. And like with what we do, the thermometer is the great example of that, because like I said, guys, I don't think any person is going to get far trying to explain temperature without having a way of proving, what is relative to. And also for customers, like for, I'm saying people in their house, if they can't see what the temperature is, I think for most part in the summertime, they're going to keep the thermostat all the way down. And in the wintertime, they're going to keep the thermostat at 90, because they don't know what comfort is, what's expected comfort, what's too hot, what's too cold. And like, guys, it's very interesting once you understand it. Like I say, you understand what a lot of people keep their set points to. There is a nominal range, but 72 for me may be too hot or maybe too cold for someone else. And it's a lot of variables. Like, I don't care to get into that, like size of the house, insulation, all that. But the fact is, depends on the ambient temperature, guys. That's going to play a huge role in what's comfortable for some customers. I know at least 20 to 30 customers that keeps their thermostat at one set point all year round, regardless heat or AC. But can that And like I said, the area or in the home doesn't have great windows or great insulation, probably not. That 72 may have to turn into 74, 75, or that 72 in the summertime may have to crank down to like 71 or 70. And I mean, if this will the set point go up, or will the room temperature go up that high or go down that low? Who knows? But like I said, if the customer keeps their house at 72 in the summertime and it's weak insulation, there's a lot of humidity going out the house, 72 may not feel comfortable to them. So like, guys, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's very interesting to understand, like I said, relative, temperature. There's no set point for everybody. Like I said, there's no one premise that will like satisfy every single customer. There's a suggestive temperature, like I said, range that you can recommend. But that's one thing I always tell customers. I give you a range of what to set it to, but it's on you to, like I said, take a couple days to figure out what's right for you. Because if 72 is too cold, I'm not telling you to stay in a cold house just because someone told you to keep it at a certain number. But guys, like, wrapping that up, like back to what we're saying, like the fact that I know that how I feel about thermometers based on it makes it easier for me to explain things. Think about this from a scientific standpoint, guys. I know everything that we've been told. Like I said, it's not up to me to tell you if it's right or wrong, guys. I want you to draw your own data points and your own conclusions. But like with the scientists, what they say with deep sea about the things that used to be here before, saying like the giant, whatever the case is, guys, you name it. There's a bunch of things that exist in deep sea. I was telling my guy like this, like he basically told me he don't believe that there's nothing at the, and like I was telling him, I'm like, well, playing devil's advocate, I know what they told us, but like I can't even say no one can confident, like I'm saying, what is it called? The deepest part in the ocean. I think it's the Mariana Trench. No one can, and like I said, guys, everything is speculative. And like if you ask ChatGPT this shit, like all that shit is like plausible deniability. Like Google and ChatGPT can't tell you if they're wrong. They can only give you data of what they think is right, and they're going to tell you what they think is right. Like, and that's the fucked up part about science, guys. I don't care, like I said, I don't care what you believe in with science, guys. You can find something online that supports your theory, guys. And this is just the messed up day and age that we live in. If you believe that the sky is green or the sky is yellow, you can probably go online and find somebody talking about it. And like, I don't know if that's good or bad. Like I said, in regards to, really understanding what the objective truth is behind, intellectual, and I'm saying like deep sea travel and like deep space travel. But like, it's like, my thing is this, guys, like with deep sea travel, like, I mean, I don't really think it's really necessary for us to know if something really exists. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't, but what I'm saying is like, if we can't, I'm saying like from what I mentioned earlier, with that much pressure being at the bottom of the sea, like, no, it won't make sense to put a live human being that deep in space. Because I'm saying that deep in sea, because if something breaks or something goes wrong, that's an automatic death sentence. Like, and that's why I was telling him, like, the similarities between deep sea and deep space is like, if something breaks or something goes left, you're fucked. It's like, and that could be a suicide mission. And like, even if someone has 30, 40 years of experience dealing with, submarine travel, if he's a deep sea diver, or like say if he's an astronaut with 20,000 successful missions, it only takes a half a thing to go wrong. And if that half thing goes wrong, no matter how good you prepare or how good you think you're ready for everything, you're fucked. And it's just like, and that makes me like wonder, like, yo, like, I mean, what's really like the purpose of humanity past a certain point? Because, and I was telling him, I'm like, yo, like, I can't say you right or wrong, but I'm like, if we don't have physical hard proof to support theories, like, is science like all speculation? Because like, I understand, guys, like there's no light in space. So like, and I looked this up online the other day. They go, yeah, the reason why scientists knows that there's billions and billions of planets is because since there's no light in space, space is a vacuum. That gives us the power to see stars from outer, like with powerful, microscopes, you can see things further than you would be able to see if there was like light in space. So like, I'm like, I understand that concept, but I'm like, I don't know how much I can trust someone telling me that, yo, like, there's another planet just like Earth that's bigger, that's 400 million miles away, but we don't even know what the fuck space is. Like, and guys, I say that honestly, like, they say that 98% of space is dark matter, right? But they don't know what dark matter is. I repeat this, guys. Like I said, draw your own conclusions. They say that 95 or 98% of space is made of dark matter, but they don't know what dark matter is. So how the fuck can you say that 98% of space is dark matter? Like, and that's what I'm saying, guys. Like, I don't hang my conclusions on what one person say. I need, like I said, physical evidence. If you say it's dark matter, all right, we'll take some dark matter out of space and put it on Earth, and let's put it under a microscope and figure out what it is. If you don't know what that is, if you don't know what dark holes are made of, then like everything past a certain point is speculative. And like I say that to say this, guys. Like, and like I said, I want you to draw your own conclusions. But with scientists, they only know things relative to the planet that we're on, which is Earth, guys. Like, and there's a lot of things about Earth we still don't know. Like, we still don't know what's at the bottom of the sea. Like, if we don't know how to get to 500 feet below sea level without something going wrong, how can we possibly know for sure what's on Jupiter right now? I mean, I understand like the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 thing, they're out doing their thing, but like if we don't know 100% what's at the bottom of, like what's at the core of the Earth right now, we can't get below. We can't keep like that, guys. It's the laws of physics gets crazy, but like I said, the laws of physics exist for us to know what's relative to what we already see. Once again, remember the principle I gave you guys with the thermometer. Everything has to be relative. What's happening in space right now, guys? If you go up in space, you could be going down. Like, and this is where I don't want to lose you guys, but like the further you go away from Earth, the laws of physics don't really count. Like, you don't know what the fuck is going on, and it's a good chance you might die. So it's like the fact that, like I said, we only know what we've seen. We know how gravity works. You know, Isaac Newton. We know about gravity. We know about physics. We know about the laws of thermodynamics. We know about all this, but everything we know is relative to Earth. But if we go somewhere else, if we go to Mars with lesser atmospheric pressure, if we go to Uranus, if we go to Saturn, I'm saying planets that's within our own galaxy. It may take you like 20 years to get there, but like the fact that the farther you go out in space, like it's like you got to make, like literally, like I said, you can't even. And this is where where I'm getting to, guys. I want to land the plane with this. Like, I think there is limits to current humanity. Like there's a limit to how much you can see and how much you can comprehend, because like past a certain point, it's almost like you have to speculate on, you know what, if there's 12 planets and there's XYZ here, you know, you start to get into your special formulas. If what's happening here is happening to 6 planets, guess what? 6 planets over there, we gotta assume is and like that's where, like, I don't like assuming shit, guys. Like, and I mean, keep in mind, like I say that to say this, guys. I think in the future, like I said, you know, hopefully, you know, humanity, like I said, continues to evolve and develop. Hopefully, without AI, you know, hopefully we can get, like I said, the real truth. But I mean, as of right now, I think we're capped out on space travel. I think we're capped out on deep sea travel, because prime example, you know, I don't think it's going to be worth putting another human being inside a submarine and going 300 feet, because like I said, guys, like, and shout out to this YouTube channel. I seen this the other day. It's called Scary Interesting, or Interesting Scary, guys. This guy talks about crazy motherfuckers they do deep sea diving, and they do deep cave diving, like. And like I said, I don't know what the point of that is. Maybe they do it for adrenaline, but they like to crawl into those tight caves. They like going into underwater caves, and like almost all of them die the same way. They die from it's called nitrogen narcosis. Basically, guys, like, and this ties into what I just said with deep sea. And for you guys that didn't know, like, I mean, I can't swim, so like I said, you know, I'm a land creature right now. But for you guys that's into the deep sea thing, if you go below a certain point, there's 21% oxygen at atmospheric pressure, like on land. But the further you go down, I'm saying like past like 100 to 200 feet, like deep in deep sea, the further you go down, nitrogen absorbs. And forgive me if I say this the wrong way, but like I think the nitrogen that's in your body, it fuses with your blood, and it causes you to like be in a hallucinated, drunken state. I think that's what nitrogen narcosis is. But what you don't know is, like, once you start, you know, bugging out, like you're kind of like feeling weak and drowsy, you better start ascending back up. But if you don't know, like I said, like what's up and what's down, because you're in a drunken state, if you keep dropping past 200 feet, that's when the oxygen in your body becomes acidic. And like so I seen that, like that's a very interesting page. Like I said, shout out to Interestingly Scary, or Scarily Interesting, whichever one it is. But he tells exactly what happens to the human body under a certain point if you don't have the right equipment. Like past 100 feet, that's when nitrogen narcosis kicks in. Under 200 feet, that's when the oxygen in your body becomes acidic. And the scuba tank that you have, assuming if you're deep sea diving with no submarine, assuming if you're diving with a regular oxygen tank, if the oxygen in your body becomes acidic, now, like I said, you got minutes, maybe seconds before you need to ascend back up before you die. But at that point, he recommend, and like I said, this, I don't know how true this is, but he was like, under a certain point, you gotta have mixed air tanks of nitrogen and oxygen. He was like, it's a bunch of mathematics behind it, but he was like, if you don't have the right air mixture in your tank under a certain point, you're gonna die instantly. And I'm like, knowing that, I'm like, and like, it's people that like, and he doesn't like say everybody that he mentions on his page. These are all experienced deep sea divers, and shit always goes wrong with experienced deep sea divers. Like, it can be literally something not engaging in time or something engaging too late. But having that much pressure on your body at 200, 300 feet, guys, like, instantly, you're already at a minimum. You're in a drunken state due to the nitrogen necrosis or noctosis. Instantly, that's going on. And now the air that's already in your body is already starting to turn acidic. Like, God, you literally passion. Like, I mean, I don't know if that's a slow death or a fast death, but it's just like, guys, like, that's a crazy way to go out. Like, and I'm telling y'all, like, I mean, I understand with space, you know, space, that's a different death. You know, space is in a vacuum, so basically you're going to swell up. You know, all the liquid in your body without air, it's going to boil off. Like, I mean, it sounds like both like death from deep sea space and death from being in deep sea, both sounds very eerily similar. But like I said, guys, like, that's why I say that to say this, man. Like, you know, we can come up. I mean, Elon Musk or whoever the bigwigs are with NASA, they can come up with like, yeah, I got a new spaceship that can go past the speed of light, or I got a new submarine that can go down 50,000 feet or 50 million feet below. They can try, but like, I really think like we're really I'm saying, based on the current laws of science, unless there's something going on that they're testing that we don't know about, based on what we know about, like, it's not really much we can assume. Like, we can't assume past a certain point because it has to be relative. Like, past a certain point, it's all speculative, guys. Like, based on what we know right now, we know what happens to the human body under a certain point, under a certain feet. But, you know, the Titan submersible, the guy claimed that you know, the lighter you go, or it was some crazy shit. That guy, you know, it's messed up what happened to those people, but he was very ignorant. He didn't really understand, like I said, that, you know, under a certain point, you know, you got to have a certain type of either scuba tank or a certain type of submarine to withstand the pressures. But like, I mean, I understand you got to be batshit crazy sometimes to be a scientist, because like, you have to prove theories wrong. Like, and that's what I've seen online too. Like, that's the purpose of science, is to prove theories wrong. You know, the current theory right now is that human beings can't survive under I think it's like, even with, I'm talking without a scuba tank, it's like 70 feet or something like that. And that's like for the more experienced scuba divers. But like, I mean, past a certain point, shit is going to go left. And I mean, and there's scientists out there right now, I'm pretty sure, that's trying to like push the limitations. But unless you can prove a physical theory that works, I mean, what are we talking about? You get what I'm saying? Like, I like, and here's the thing, guys, I'm very optimistic. I want them to find a way to get past the speed of light so we can get to other planets without taking 30 years. Like, that's damn near death sentence. Like, you got to train a baby right now to be an astronaut. And like, this is just some theory shit, but like, it takes like, I think other planets, like, and they didn't tell us this shit in school. Like, in school, they taught us that all the planets were linear. If you go into outer space, you'll see all 7 or 8 planets, but that's the furthest thing from the truth. Like, Mars is like, well, the moon is closest to us. It's like a couple of months away, but once you start going to Mars, which was like 2 years away, Jupiter, Saturn, which is like 10, 15, 20 years away, guys, think about it like this. This can fuck your head up. Imagine you knowing that the nearest planet is 20 years away to and from, and that's if everything goes well. If something goes left, you're probably fucked. Or it's probably gonna take you another 10 years to get back, meaning now instead of 20 to 40, you're gonna be there for 50 years. And that's if something else don't go down, and now you're stranded out there. Like, at that point, guys, what government is gonna want their hands involved with sending another live human being 20 years away, knowing that, like I said, you know, now you're gonna have to concoct something on the go to try to get there sooner. But the issue is, guys, you know how much fuel you're gonna need to get to another planet 20 years away? You need fuel to get there sooner, but like, the more fuel you have, the more heavier you're gonna be. And like, guys, it becomes very contradictory, because like, you could propel just on like natural flow, but if you propel on natural flow, like how Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 is right now in space, if you get there on natural flow without like any fuel, it's going to take you way longer. You're going to have more fuel to get back, but it's going to take you way longer. Now that 40, 50 years could be 70 or 80 years. And there's this, guys, like, the more you know about this deep, I'm saying both deep space and deep sea, the more you know about it, it becomes very contradictory. And like, in a way, it kind of pisses you off, because like, based on what we've been taught in school with like how outer space is supposed to look, based on, you know, the Mars landing, or what, you know, whatever. I think China, it's another country that's like trying to experiment with Mars. But the more you know about it, guys, the more you understand. Like, it's nothing wrong with us not. I don't think it's meant for us to understand things at a certain point, guys. Like, it's a reason why cavemen, at the time didn't care about what was going on in outer space. It's the reason why, what was that? I think the anniversary just came up, guys, of the what the hell was that space shuttle that blew up? This happened a couple years, like at least 20 years ago, guys. I forgot the name of it, but like, guys, like, I mean, in the early 90s, I think the president, I forgot his name at the time, but he tried to get people into. He tried to make it a normal thing for space shuttles to land on other planets. I'm talking for regular pedestrians. Like, I understand astronauts have the capability of doing it, but like, he wanted to make that like a travel thing. Like, human beings need to. I don't know which president it was. I seen this on Netflix a couple months ago, guys. But like, basically, like, space travel was a thing. They tried to make it a thing, but they didn't understand the dangers of what can go wrong if you don't check your T's and dot your I's with every little thing. Like, and like I said, guys, that margin of error is so small. Who would want to, like, I know Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin, I forgot the guy's name. He wanted to what's the guy's name? Not Blue Origin, with the Virgin, what the fuck, Brunson, I think. Branson, I forgot the guy's name. He basically was saying that he can do I think it's up to $1 million. He can if he had $1 million to spend, he can, like I said, he can take you to the moon or something like that. It's a handful of people that did that, but like, guys, I'm telling you, like, it gets very past a certain point, man. Like, that speculative thing, once it gets, I mean, you can speculate all you want on Earth, but like, once you start getting below a certain depth into sea, and once you start going into outer space, speculation often leads to death or somebody really getting hurt, guys. And like I said, imagine and for you guys that's watching this now, imagine you being a if you got $1 million right now to spend to go to the moon. Imagine you being on the moon and now you're getting the Mayday signal. Hey, something's going wrong. We don't have enough fuel to get back. Like, and like I said, guys, like, I'm pretty sure no astronaut goes into space without a plan to come back. Like, everybody has good intentions. Everybody checks everything. But the fact is, on Earth, if something goes wrong, we can at least breathe oxygen. We can stand on the fucking rock until like I said, help arrives. Like, we can make SOS signals on the ground with rocks. Like, in space, you can't hold your breath for that long. So it's like, that's what I'm saying, guys. Like, I mean, I'm very optimistic. I'm all for, the human species advancing, but you can only advance based on practicality. We can't advance on somebody with a $10 million microscope saying that, yeah, like, there's life on another planet that looks just like Earth that's 400 million light years away. Well, yeah, my man. I mean, that's great to know, but like, I mean, have you been there? Have we sent a Voyager out there to know that that's actually the case? And like, and for you guys that don't know, what you see in space now happened, I think it's minutes, or what you see in space already happened. It's hard to explain, guys. Like, but the fact is, like, what you see now, as soon as you go into space, it can look totally different the closer you get. So it's like, once again, guys, I feel like we're going to be very limited to space travel until we figure out how to go past the speed of light. And like I said, guys, and I know all about this shit. I know bits and pieces. I know anything with mass cannot exceed past the speed of light. So us as human beings, we have mass. Like, we're not made of, feathers and mint. And like I said, but like, the fact that we know that we can't physically exceed past the speed of light, it's going to be hard to, like I said, go 400 million light years away. And like, even if, you don't send a human being, let's say if you send a robot or something, like, I mean, this isn't cheap. And this is where NASA has a multi-billion-dollar budget, but it's going to get very expensive. For instance, we want to go to Jupiter right now. If you build a $6 billion robot and you go to Jupiter and then now something shorts out on it, you can't send someone out there to fix it. I mean, taking that hit, like, I mean, as a kid, it sounds great, building whatever to go anywhere, but like the budget, and I looked at this, the budget has to stay below a certain point. That's why NASA is buddy with Bezos and Elon Musk with the SpaceX thing, because now they have a reason to, like I said, explore more. But like, there is a capped off limit to like how crazy you can get with like certain inventions. But like, but guys, like I said, I want to know what y'all think about that with the deep sea thing, with the deep space travel. Like, I mean, I understand like what they told us, but like, I mean, eventually, guys, like, I'm pretty sure, if you're not at the same level, you're getting towards that level. Like, I understand what you're saying, but you gotta have some physical proof, my man. Like, I understand, with deep sea travel, like, I'm saying, deep sea, both deep sea, deep space travel. I understand in the deep sea what could have been down there, but like, and now back to the story with the guy at the store. I'm like, yo, like, even if there's a great Leviathan or some type of like 800-foot whatever down there, don't you know if human beings right now, guys, with current space technology, current deep sea technology, if we go down there, we can only, I'm saying like not human beings, but we take a robot down there, the lower you get down to deep sea, the darker it gets. You're probably not going to even see anything. And I'm like, basically, this is all based on what we already know, not speculative. This is all proven facts. The deeper you go down, I know the pressure goes down and everything is pitch black. Every living creature down there right now has a way of seeing. They're translucent, like their whole environment has adapted towards, like I said, them being able to thrive in the darkness. If everything is pitch black, not knowing how much it's going to cost for you to send something down there, two, not knowing how long you can stay down there, even if you think everything is right, we can't practice those conditions without actually being in those conditions. But right now, if you send some type of Voyager or some type of robot down there to 500 feet, I'm talking below the Mariana Trench. And for you guys that don't know, that's the deepest point in the known sea right now, is the Mariana Trench. If you send a robot down there, right now, guys, I'm like, all right, there's a bunch of questions. I know it's going to cost a shitload full of money. Two, we don't know how long, we don't know what we're going to see, or if we're going to see anything that's going to be worthwhile. You know, if you want to see pitch black, look into space. That's exactly how the sea looks under certain feet. But like, if you go down there and now it's like, all right, now it's like 200-300 feet. Now you're seeing a bunch of, like I said, algae. I'm pretty sure it's something down there. But like, you might see a little, you know, the anglerfish, the things that look crazy as hell. You're going to see a bunch of different, you know, species and all that. But like, the deeper you go down, the less likely something's probably going to break on your robot or what you're sending. But the deeper you go down, you got to understand, even if, and I told the guy like this, even if tomorrow they send a robot 600 feet down in the Mariana Trench, let's say that the Mariana Trench, they found a new depth. Now the new depth is like 80,000 feet deep. Let's say if they send a robot right now down in the Mariana Trench, 80,000 feet deep. If you do see something, you know the level of new problems that your discovery is going to present. Like, prime example like this: if you find, like I said, a 80-foot squid, or if you find guys, I can only speculate because I don't know what the fuck is down there. I don't think it's going to be anything that's worthwhile. But if we do find something down there, you can't bring it up to the sea, because everything, and this is what I was telling the guy, right? Everything below a certain point in the sea is meant to live at that depth in the sea. You're not going to find what is it called? It's a well that lives deep down the sea. I don't know if it's the sperm well, but there's certain creatures that you're going to see specifically under a certain depth in the sea. Let's say human beings, we're naturally curious people. If we bring one of those sperm wells, or if we bring one of those mystical creatures, if we find a way, and this, if it's even possible, which I doubt, if we find some 80,000 feet at the bottom of the sea, if we bring it up, most likely it's going to die. And like, in the back of your mind, guys, think about it. If you study something, wouldn't you want to study it when it's alive? Why would you want to bring something that's like bringing a fish out of the sea and like dissecting it? I mean, I understand like something is better than nothing if you didn't know it existed, but like, to study a creature, everything we know about animals, bugs, everything we know about life is in its own natural habitat, guys. Like, and that's the issue you're gonna have. Like, I don't know any robot, and this is all, you know, hypothetical. I don't know any robot that has the ability to descend 80,000 feet in the sea, has the ability to grab something of God knows how big and pull it up, all without malfunction, guys. Like, that technology is like way past our current capabilities of understanding how things work, guys. And that's where I was gonna say, like, I mean, we can speculate, and once again, guys, based on what I said, I'm falling into that speculative hole. I mean, if it is something, the fact that, like I said, even if we do find something down there, I don't know if it's going to be a high probability of something being alive, or if we do disturb something, what echo chamber will that set off? If we take something away, maybe another animal need that species to survive, and now we accidentally messed up the food chain down there, and now that could cause something higher up to die. And like, guys, that's what I'm saying. Like, with the deep sea space stuff, like, it's a lot more that can go bad that can go good. And that's why I think there's a reason why a lot of people with money, I'm saying, like Elon Musk, if he wanted to, he can build $1 billion robot and say, you know what, I'm trying to see what's at the bottom of the sea. There's so much cost involved and so much unsurety. I don't think that deep sea travel is really worth the risk right now, unless we can find a cheaper way, which I highly doubt right now. It's probably going to take another 50 to 60 years. But unless we can find a cheaper way of getting the answers without the liability, I mean, it is what it is, guys. We can only speculate. We can only look at fossils and say, you know what? Yeah, I seen the 80-foot bone. It was a megalodon, a giant shark. Blase, blase. I mean, that's cool that it existed, but like we don't know, what the predecessor or what evolved from that giant bone, that megalodon. I mean, we know what we know right now with great white sharks, tiger sharks, yada yada. But the deeper you go down, guys, I feel like the laws of physics just goes away. Like, I mean, I know you guys, for you science nerds, I mean, I know you know about photosynthesis. Most plants needs life to produce, to like, everything. Like light, light energy is life in its own, but if light doesn't exist past a certain point, when you're like 300 or 400 feet below surface level, how can something thrive by being in total darkness? And that should scare the shit out of you, because like, even if you go down there with a light, you don't know what you're going to see. If you see something you can't understand, like, what can you possibly do with that information, guys? And this is some real shit. If you go on another planet and you see something that defies the laws of physics, would you still want to be there, or would you just pack your shit up and get the fuck back to Earth? I'm gonna choose the second. I'm gonna choose the second option, guys, and that's what I'm saying. Like, the more you know, the more you wish you don't know. And then, like, I feel like that's the current place right now. We're at right now. I'm saying as a species, that's where we're at right now with science. It's like there's conspiracy theories, there's people that give you hypotheticals, but I understand, we're probably not the only species, like I said, in the universe, but until we can prove it, until, the government opens up Area 51 and let us know what they've been experimenting on the past 10 years. I mean, who knows, guys? Like, we only know what's public information now, but, who knows? Like I said, these spacecraft, like some could have fell down, like I said, 20 years ago, and maybe they've been experimenting with it and trying to teach it English for the past 20 years. So, guys, we don't know, but like, I mean, I feel like it will be interesting, and it will be very, very exciting for, like I said, I'm saying for the younger kids to know that, like I said, like, there's more out there than, like I said, what the internet projects, as far as like, like, shit, go out there and be an astronaut and try to figure out how to exceed past the speed of light, and I was telling someone this a couple years ago, shit, if you can't do it with humans, do it with like chickens or something, like something that you can, they make genetic chickens or something like that, but like now you got robots, which was like more easier to manage, but like, shit, I mean, you can strap you can, like I said, guys, someone mentioned this before with Mars, like, because the further you go away, the more fuel you'll need in space. And like, they thought about using like nuclear energy, like they thought about using different alternatives instead of like for fuel, instead of using gas, because like those big canisters that they sit on rockets, it can weigh you down. And like, the more you weigh past a certain point, it's going to take more energy to get you past our atmosphere to go into space. So like, I mean, they're looking into alternative ways to like propel deeper in space, but like, guys, like, I mean, like, at this point, we know what was here before us based on, like I said, what we find as far as fossils. We're still learning things about the Earth, but it's just like, I hate when people just get too carried away with this science shit, and it gets to a point where, like, now, just because you say something, that makes it right, and it's on someone else to prove you wrong. Like, no. And that's what ChatGPT said. It was like, the purpose of science is to prove theories wrong. Well, what makes that theory you're trying to prove right? Like I said, I understand gravity. I understand every single aspect, guys, of thermodynamics. I understand temperature, moves from hot to cold, blah. I understand all this shit from trade school, guys. I understand, gravity, physics, thermodynamics, but what these scientists got to understand is, like, if we're able to exceed, hypothetically, if we're able to exceed past the speed of light and we go to another planet, can we use the laws of physics from Earth, which is going to be 20,000 miles away? Can we use the laws of physics on Earth on other planets? And that answer is hell no. The Earth has an atmosphere. If you go to Mars right now with no atmosphere, like I said, the requirements of life are going to be different, guys. And like, how long I've been on this? Hold on, 39 minutes. I got a couple more minutes about this, guys. Like, the requirements of life on Earth is going to be different than like the requirements of Earth on other planets, guys. Like, and I say that to say this, like, if you go to Mars or any other planet, I'm saying inside our solar system, with no atmosphere, there's no oxygen barrier, none of that shit. I say like this, guys, like, the requirements, it could still be something alive, but that species, or what to call it, I don't know, what we'll find, but like, the requirement of life on other planets could be different. But I feel like unless a scientist, or like I said, some type of program exists to, send test subjects or like robots to that said planet, we'll never know what the requirements of life are. And like, I think not Mars. I forgot. I think it was Venus. Someone sent the robot. I don't know what it was. This is a while ago, but someone tried to experiment with the life. Like if it's like what type of life is on Venus. You know, there's no oxygen barrier, and I think Venus is the second closest planet to the sun. But and guys, here's the fucked up thing about it, right? Half of Venus is facing the sun, and half of Venus is facing the opposite direction. So like half of Venus at all times is going to be very hot, and the other half is going to be very cold. But like what the guy was saying was like they tried to put a probe, they tried to land it on Venus, and like it's and the guy was like it's either going to be one or two scenarios. If you land a probe on the side of Venus facing the sun, you got a couple seconds to record information and save it, otherwise until it burns up. And he was like, on the other side of Venus, the part that's not facing the sun, I don't know how long it takes for Venus to rotate around the sun, but he was like, the other side of Venus, if you land on the back side there, it's going to be the same principle, but it may be too cold. And he was like, there's really no accurate way to tell. And I'm like, based on how you describe it, like it's just like, yo, like we're trying to base the laws of physics of Earth on other planets, and like literally a planet with no oxygen barrier. Like, I mean, oxygen may not be a requirement for life on other planets, but us as human beings, we need oxygen to survive. So it's like us, and like I say that to say this, guys, like the thought process of us going to another planet, not knowing if it's oxygen there, like that's an automatic death sentence. And I mean, I understand what they tell you guys. You know, I seen the same thing. Yeah, there's billions of planets on you know, there's trillions, whatever the case is, of galaxies, blase. I understand that, but until, like I said, someone concocts a probe and send it somewhere, and it has definite oxygen, and it has, like I said, it has an atmosphere to protect it from, you know, radioactive stuff from the space. Like I said, guys, I don't know. Like, and that the older I get, I'm like, you know what, man, we have to accept that. Like I said, everybody's gonna have their own opinion. You know, I feel like the most outlandish things are going to be more prevalent. Outlandish means if someone says, you know what, you know, I found an alien species, yada yada, that shit could go viral until, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like the day and age you live in, it's hard not to be jaded based on what you see, because like most of it, I'm saying specifically science, like most of this shit is speculative. Like, and I mean, until, like I said, you guys should have the same mentality in a way. Like, you know, everything is speculative until you prove it wrong. And like, and based on the definition I seen online, like that's the purpose of science, is to prove things wrong. But you don't prove things wrong by just saying it's wrong. You have to, you know, work up your equations and actually prove it wrong. Otherwise, then like, look, you can't tell me that, like I said, 400 million miles away, we're not gonna have any issues. No. First of all, how the hell can we get to 400 million miles away and still be alive? I mean, no one knows that, but it's just like, guys, I don't know. You can, everything I just said, guys, I want you to draw your own conclusions. I really don't know. Like I said, you know, I told the guy, like I said, about deep sea. I mean, I understand what they told us, but I'm not really sold past a certain point, because like I said, us as human beings are meant to live on Earth. If you take the human being somewhere else, how can you expect them to thrive? You know, not without some type of, like I said, help, or, you know, some luck of something else happening in the universe. Like I said, you know, Big Bangs happen every day. And like Big Bang, and that's the crazy thing about it. You know, the universe was created from the Big Bang. That, you know, the one that we're living in, this is not the only one. Like, but the fact is, like I said, if we had life species on other planets, you know, maybe it's not meant for us to communicate. You know, maybe, you know, a species, regardless of how they look, maybe they're 800 million miles away. You know, if they wanted to be in contact, or if they had the capabilities of being in contact, you know, we would have known by now. But, you know, once again, Area 51, that's why it exists. I think the government kind of like want to keep you out of certain things, because they don't want to create a bunch of mass hysteria. Oh, we about to get invaded by aliens. We about to get invaded by aliens. Like, nah, like I said, guys, it is what it is, man. Like, I want y'all to just seek your own perspectives. Like I said, there's a bunch of information out here, but you don't want to be just a bunch of, a bunch of conspiracy theories and start, yeah, you know, I heard that, like I said, in 10 years that the oxygen barrier is going to dry up, yada. I mean, guys, look, I'll tell you like this, you know, and I mentioned this before. I mean, they're trying to blame HVAC guys. They're trying to blame us for the ozone depletion. Like, gosh, like I said, I mean, that's part of it, but there's many things like that factors into the ozone depletion. But like I said, guys, like us as human beings, like, I mean, there's so much contradictory shit going on right now, guys. Like, you got to take everything at face value. You can't really put your beliefs behind, like I said, the most outlandish statement you see here. But like, you know, they tried to ban they tried to ban R410A. They end up bringing it back. You know, you can't get rid of R410A that quick, but like they tried to put a bunch of government mandates on like refrigerant, and it's just like, you know, Crimea River. They tried to do the same shit with natural gas in New York, but guess what? A lot of people still use it because it's proven to work. You know, unless you can prove that, like I said, you know, this electric heat and heat pump year round, unless you can prove that it's not going to be a hindrance financially to people that's living in inner cities. I mean, shit. I'll say, look, you know, whatever fossil fuel you can find, you know, burn it until you can't use it up no more. That's all. Or bring back coal mining. You know, there's probably more coal reserves and all that shit. You know, but like I said, guys, like it's you know, science is what you make of it. Like I said, I love science because it forces us to think. You know, it forces us to, like I said, you know, reconsider our current ways of thinking, and that's why, like I said, you know, it's not on me to tell you if someone's right or wrong about their theories, but like I said, guys, once again, I can't really see someone right now. Like I said, once again, I'm 33. I don't see no one in my lifetime. I'm saying within the next, you know, then at least for the next 30 or 40 years, I don't see anyone putting together something that's going to allow life to thrive under 400 feet of water or in deep space. Like, you know, people bring this up all the time. Yeah, why not try to turn the International Space Station into a like, guys, all that shit sounds good, but like I said, like once you factor in the risk of what can go bad, like it becomes very contradictory. You know, like that's why, you know, like I said, you know, I feel like the human, and here's the optimism, guys. I really do think that eventually we will find what's at the bottom of the sea. We will find life on other planets. It's going to happen, but like it's going to take a lot of trial and error. But like, you know, and unfortunately, it's going to have to be some casualties too. Like, I mean, shit. I mean, I hate to say it, but like, you know, once you start experimenting at depths of 300 feet, or once you start experimenting with other planets, I mean, what can go wrong will go wrong. I forgot what law that is, but you know, what can go wrong will go wrong. But let me look at the comments here, guys. Sorry about that. I missed all these comments here. You said space is not real. What you mean space is not real? Well, it takes 6 to 9 months to get to Mars. I mean, hey, William, you said it takes 6 to 9 months to get to Mars. I mean, but that's if everything goes right. Like, what if something goes wrong? I mean, and Mars doesn't have an atmosphere. There's no oxygen there. So, like, I mean, yeah, only God knows the deepest corners of Earth. Yeah, Loriek, yep. No limits, you said the right. Yep. Yeah, so like I'm telling y'all, like, I mean, I want you to draw your own conclusions, like I said, with this, but you know, the point is, man, this is a great topic, you know, whichever one you swing on. If you like deep sea more than you like deep space travel, you know, I mean, like I said, guys, the point, once again, I feel like the purpose of humanity is to evolve and grow. You know, like I don't think anybody 40 years ago would believe you if you explain to them the things you have now. So like, and I feel like in 40 years from now, you know, once you get into, like I said, the 2090s and the 2100s, man, like guys, like I feel like everything that someone have at that time, I don't think we'll understand what they like. Guys, like I said, it is what it is. You know, you don't want to. We learn from the past, but like you got to be optimistic towards the future. So like, you know, you don't want to be a dinosaur. You don't want to be a dinosaur to history and start saying, yeah, well, you know, my era was great. You know, everybody had their peaks of, you know, what they enjoyed about their time. But like I said, guys, the only constant is change, and like it's going to happen. Like I said, whether you were ready for it, whether you agree with it or not, I mean, change is definitely going to be constant. So like, just try your best to understand it. And like I said, you know, if you got to take your time to learn about what can happen down the line, I mean, we're in the information age right now. So like, make sure you guys are out there, you know, staying on top of your studies. But like, I mean, for damn sure, like I said, I don't think throwing money at a problem is going to change anything. I mean, I wish it was, because like I said, everybody was like, that's why everybody's stuck on that SpaceX thing. And SpaceX got an alleged evaluation of like over $1 trillion or something like that. It's some weird number, but like, I mean, like I said, everything about deep, and it got, like I said, guys, Earth got its own problems right now, and you know, and like I said, it's easier to fix your problems in your backyard than it is to try to fix other people's issues. But like, I mean, the issues that we're having now with the you know, with Venezuela and XYZ, I mean, it is what the fuck it is. But guys, like I said, with that being said, I got to get up out of here. I just wanted to chat with y'all because I got to get something to drink. But guys, be on the lookout, like I said, for more vlogs coming up. But just to encapsulate all this, like I said, my take on deep sea and deep space travel, I think everything now is maxed out. I don't see it making like any large jumps until, you know, we have more information. Unfortunately, until someone invests a lot more, I'm saying like in the billions. And maybe it's going to take 100 or 200 billion for us to build something to know more. But like, I mean, it is what it is, guys. I mean, science is like, you know, science is to help us understand things in relativity, but I mean, past a certain point, guys, like who knows, you know? But hopefully, you know, hopefully we learn more than what we know right now, guys. And like I said, I feel like the more we know is going to benefit everybody down the line. So, but guys, I got to get up out of here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.